just when you think things can't get any worse at the BBC. In a week in which it's been proven that they have spliced videos of Donald Trump's speeches, that Donald Trump has threatened to sue them for $1 billion, and the Director General and the CEO of BBC News have resigned, an internal inquiry into the BBC and how it manages these things is also being launched. But things are now getting even worse. But before we get into that, if you do like the content on this channel, and I really hope you do, please do like and subscribe below. We're a new channel, we're trying to grow here, we're trying to bring you content you think you're going to enjoy, that you're going to get value from. Please do leave your comments as well. I do look at all your comments and I do really appreciate it, and thanks for your support. So getting back to it, the news today in the Daily Telegraph, or more to the point in the Daily T, which is a podcast that they do, has just been announced that not only did the BBC edit the Panorama programme, which we all know about, and the clip in that 2 years prior to that, a very similar clip appeared on the Newsnight programme. Now, there's a chap who apparently used to be a graphic designer for the BBC called David Chodwar, and he's brought this to the attention of the Daily Telegraph, and we'll get into clips of all these videos in a moment. And David Chodwar has said that this was brought to editorial attention in a meeting in 2022 and nothing was done about it. But anyway, let's get into some of these clips. I'm first of all going to start with the original clip that you've all seen already. This is from my video I took the other day. So just watch this one. So let me just play a little bit more truth for you again.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
So we're just going to come on to the next one now, and the next one is the clip that appeared on Newsnight, slightly different. So just watch this one as well.
Washington, D.C.
We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Right, do you see what they did there? Okay, they edited it again slightly differently, and they ended it right afterwards with this picture of the rioting on Capitol Hill, which, as it turns out, was not a result of Donald Trump's speech that he didn't make. Okay, so are you following? It's a little bit complicated. Okay, so let's bring you back to full screen for a moment. Okay, so there are now 3 edits of this Donald Trump speech. There's the original clip of the speech he actually made on the 6th of January 2021 at the inauguration of Joe Biden. And then there's the edited clip, which came second in that sequence there, which appeared in the BBC Newsnight show on the 28th of October 2024, the week before the recent presidential election, of which Donald Trump has just won and just completed his first year. Okay, and if all that wasn't bad enough, the third clip now, which is really the second clip, but the third clip in our lineage, from Newsnight, which is again edited and it gets slightly extended in the middle of it, but again it cuts straight to the bit about we're going to march and we're going to reclaim our country and fight like hell, etc., etc. But then it comes on to this here, to this picture of the rioting at the end of it. Now, this, as you know, the BBC has been threatened to be sued for £1 billion by Donald Trump, or for $1 billion even, and he wants a response legally from them tomorrow. That will hopefully be a great apology. It will be a deletion of various clips and things that they've done that disparage Donald Trump, and meeting various of his demands that maybe will negate a financial settlement with him. However, and I'm just going to have a quick drink, excuse me. However, now that this Newsnight clip has appeared as well, I think all this is going to be just thrown into the air, isn't it? I think this is showing a long-term, systemic, a deliberate, intentional plot to undermine Donald Trump by certain people within the BBC. That is how it appears. That is my opinion. Okay? I'm not saying this is a fact, I'm saying it's my opinion. That's what it looks like from here. Bearing in mind this is 2.5 years apart. Now this was brought to the BBC's attention by someone called David Chodwar. David Chodwar was a graphic designer for the Newsnight programme, and he recently got in touch with the Telegraph after all this stuff is blown up today. Okay, and now there's a third clip I want to show you, and this one is of Mick Mulvaney, who was Donald Trump's chief of staff between 2019 and 2020, so in his last term, and he famously fell out with Donald Trump as a result of the January 6 riots. However, okay, let's just watch this. Let me know what you think.
Walk.
Mick Mulvaney, up until the riots, you were a loyal aide. You had been chief of staff to Donald Trump. But Donald Trump galvanised and encouraged that crowd and stoked that crowd. And I wonder if you actually think that he actually believes in democracy.
And then Mulvaney replies with this.
A bunch of different questions there. Your video, and I'm no apologist for the president.
No, I'm not suggesting you are. I'm not suggesting you are. But what I'm saying is that your
video actually spliced together the presentation. He said we're going to go down and we're going to cheer on our senators and our House members, and then it actually goes on to say, in some of them we might not be able to. And that line about we fight and fight like hell is actually later in the speech, and yet your video makes it look like those two things came together. That's the type of messaging here that so many people in my country find frustrating, is that it's hard to actually get the facts. The young woman from BuzzFeed is absolutely right. It was a violent attack, yet there were people, and there's video of people walking peacefully through the Capitol building. If we're going to have a debate about what this was and prevent it from happening again, I think part of that is to make sure that we are straightforward in our presentation of what actually happened.
Wow, just wow. Okay, this guy was Donald Trump's chief of staff. He's still defending Donald Trump with this. No, he's been very clear that video has been spliced together to show something that didn't happen by events that took place nearly an hour apart to parts of his speech. No, and he's absolutely right. If we want to look at what happened and prevent it from happening again, we need to be truthful about it. Okay, and now I think this is even more true for the BBC. That this is now twice it's happened. And according to the rest of this video, and I'll post a link to this Telegraph video in the comments so you can see it yourself, because I think it's important everyone goes and watches this. It's a really informative bit of video, and it does say that there was an editorial meeting the next day in 2022. This is after the 9th of June 22 showing of Newsnight, and which this was raised and said this could be a problem, and it was just dismissed. And somehow that's been buried. And no one's talked about it ever since. Until this stuff to do with Donald Trump and the Panorama programme came out a couple of days ago. Now, I do think that this does show a malevolent intent for the BBC, from the BBC towards Donald Trump. It could constitute interfering in elections, bearing in mind the power and scope of the BBC, although, arguably, maybe not so much in the United States itself, but there are several 100,000 American citizens in the UK who will be able to vote in the US presidential elections. But nevertheless, we have 3 different clips of the same speech, edited to say completely different things, by the BBC. I think this spells massive trouble for the BBC. Even bigger trouble than they're in already. They're already having a review into their licence fee. Their charter is due for renewal in 2027. I think it's personally very unlikely that will be scrapped or stopped prior to then, but it is showing that BBC News cannot be trusted. Now, I already think it can't be trusted. I've been saying the same for years. I think anyone who relies on the BBC for their news, for honesty and reliability, is really going to be digging themselves a hole and not getting a real version of events that's happening. And I've been called a conspiracy theorist. I've been called all kinds of names for saying such a thing. However, these clips, both BBC clips, are very clear. They have deliberately edited the President of the United States speeches twice to put him in a bad light. Now, if they're doing that with the President of the United States of America, the most powerful man in the world, who else are they doing it with? What other clips are they butchered and edited? What other views are they trying to create? Because they are a very powerful organisation. They have a worldwide reach. They are listened to by millions of people all over the world, and they are widely thought of as the authority in news. I don't agree, but it doesn't matter what I think. This is what is seen by the majority of the people, that they think that it is a major source of news. But we're finding that they are being deliberately dishonest twice. Now, I'm going to leave it there. Please do leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know your thoughts on the situation with Trump, with Mulvaney as well, the Mick Mulvaney, and that speech there. And what you think about the Daily Telegraph's little article, Daily T, which I'll put in a link in the comments for you to go and look at that. So thanks guys for watching. Until the next time, bye bye.